Hey trumpet players, in today's video we are going to learn how to oil our valves. I'm sure at some point you've been playing the trumpet and the buttons just don't work right. They're either moving slow or they're not coming up when you want them to or something like that. That's because they need oil. Valve oil, which is a specific type of oil that only trumpets and other brass instruments use to make our valves move fast. So, before we get started, make sure that you have your valve oil out and close by, and make sure you can get the lid off of it before we do this. Step one is loosening our valve cap. So I'm going to go down here to the bottom one, and I'm going to grab it, and remember, lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. I'm going to twist that to the left until it comes completely loose. Okay, so now this is where it's really important that you have your second valve facing up for the rest of the time. So I'm only going to do one valve at a time. When I slowly remove my valve, this white piece is the valve guide that I was talking about before. When the small side is facing up, the trumpet works. Now, if the other side, if I was to turn this, you see this bigger side, it's a little different. When that faces up, if I was to put this back in, my trumpet would not work. So right now, just make sure that whatever side comes directly out while this is facing up, you just want to learn that for your own instrument. It might look a little different than what I have. So now that our valve guide is up and we see what our valve guide is, we can now add some oil to it. So I'm going to add a couple drops, and the valve oil is really thin and it moves around in there. So now what I'm doing is I'm just giving my valve a twist while it's out of the trumpet a little bit, just so that the oil goes all the way around on the inside of this metal casing, we call it. So it feels pretty good, and now I need to double check which side the valve guide is facing before I put it back into the trumpet. I want to double check. Yep, it's the small side. I put that perfectly back in straight. And then notice here I can twist it all the way around. When it gets, you'll feel when it gets into the valve casing, it's going to stop and it's going to wiggle just a little bit. That means that you're in the right spot. And the final thing you do is you're going to tighten your cap. Now that it's all the way tightened, let's check and see if our trumpet works. I pick up my trumpet, I go to blow air, and air goes through the instrument. So, if you did this wrong, this is what happens. So, let's say I'm back on the previous step. I go to put my valve guide in, but the wrong side is facing up, and everything will look normal. But then you go to play it, and no air goes through like this. Right? You can really tell that it's hard to, it doesn't make a sound, okay? And so you want to make sure to go double check that valve. And now you can hear the air go through it. Before we finish, let's just go over a little review. First off, make sure that when you remove the valve, you know which side is supposed to face up. Every trumpet is different, and it's on you to figure out which way it works so that next time you do this, you'll remember and you'll get faster and faster at this process each time. If you mess up, that's because one of your valves is backwards. Twist it the other direction until it works. If your buttons are ever sticking at all, make sure that you stop, put some valve oil on them, and then go back to work. Because your trumpet will last a lot longer, it'll work better, and you'll sound better in the long run. So now, you know how to oil your valves.